even like, I don't know. Like,
Where'd you get that?
You're not a flannel person, right?
Where'd you get this
Not
flannel?
in public. I wear my flannel.
What is that supposed to
I just wear them at home.
I don't wear
Where were
flannels in public.
Where are you going with
Good
that?
God.
Well, technically I'm in my own home and I don't wear it in public either.
Yeah, see?
You definitely wear flannels in public. Are we doing a whole episode of flannels?
You started it.
Yeah, I did. 3, 2, 1.
Woo!
Welcome back to the Easy Human Podcast. I'm Evan.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Chris.
Guys,
I don't know if you guys noticed, but Evan got a haircut.
I got
more than a haircut.
I got more than a haircut. I'm looking like a toddler right now. And I don't know, like at first when it happened, I was like, oh,
I'm feeling this.
I'm feeling it. You know,
Yeah.
I can look a little younger.
No, we actually have a new guest today.
Ivana.
That's good. Oh, that's funny, guys. Yeah, but now that I like every time I walk by the mirror, I'm just like, whoa.
You do look like younger.
I do look
Is that
younger.
what you wanted?
I guess now
It's
Yeah,
like,
what
you
was-
didn't look old before.
I just look scruffy. You know, like when you just have long hair and it just kind of falls out of
Like
hats
Chris?
and beanies and it just looks a little messy.
I'm
And
glad.
It's just like, kind of like, do you have a place to sleep? You know what I'm saying? You know, there's certain people like that in the world, but I don't know any. But I'm just saying that's how I felt. So I could only imagine, somebody else. But anyways, hey Chris, how you doing? Love your flannel, love your beanie, love your hair.
Pretty soon I might not have a place to sleep, so
It's a little,
a little close to home.
it's a little too close to home right now. But on that topic, being uncomfortable.
Ooh, good segue.
Ooh,
what we were talking. Oh yeah,
that's our
keep
topic
going.
of conversation today, right?
Yeah.
Getting
Being
uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Take it
I-
away.
I'm
Take it
uncomfortable.
away. Yeah.
I'm uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, your face looks uncomfortable. Not.
It's because you can see all of my face now. This is actually how I just look normally.
Yeah, no.
And this is
I can-
underneath the beard, and I stare at you, and I get very uncomfortable.
Now it's even more transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could just look that way or somewhere else because it's making me uncomfortable.
So being uncomfortable, what does that
You're
mean?
still looking my
I know.
way.
I'm sorry. So being uncomfortable, what does that mean to you guys?
I think in life, like challenging yourself
Yeah.
and like going after
Because
things that.
we're not talking about uncomfortable beds. We're not talking
No, we're not
uncomfortable
talking
chairs
about like.
this apple box I'm sitting on.
Nobody knows that.
Well,
We're
now they know.
talking about, I think, getting uncomfortable in life, to challenge yourself in new ways.
Yeah.
Right.
I think sometimes you challenge yourself, and then I think sometimes things happen to you to challenge you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Elaborate on that. I like that.
No, we're good with that.
No, I think that was, but I think that.
Yeah.
But I liked where you were heading with that
Yeah.
because it is true that a lot of people, myself included, at times you look at uncomfortable situations as something negative,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it's a natural instinct to be like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. I want to get out of this situation as soon as possible.
Yep.
But sometimes you're faced with these uncomfortable situations that actually propel you to something new, different,
Yeah.
better, and you can use it as kind of a launching pad for what you're
Don't we
doing
hear
next.
all the time, like, lean into the uncomfortable, because when you're in a state of being uncomfortable, you are pushing yourself to get better at whatever's making you uncomfortable, or challenging yourself in new ways that can only like build you up in your
Yeah.
life, right?
No, I agree. I mean, I can't even. There's so many times in my life that I've just been uncomfortable with where I was in terms of not even just career, just like you said, life in general. Whether it's moving to a new state,
Yeah.
going to a new school, trying a new sport, anything like that. And then you're faced with that, and it's like what you're going to do with that situation is going to make all the difference. And how you approach it.
It's the mindset going into it.
It is a mindset.
Can each of you name one time, like just this year, that you've like purposefully gone after something that made you uncomfortable to better yourself?
I can name multiple.
You can name as many as you want.
First of all, going to different countries and like Brazil, for example. Brazil, I don't speak Portuguese. Like I'm easy, like I can get away with speaking Spanish, but Portuguese is like another language that it's
You
like
can speak Spanish.
it's another
Let's
language
prove
that
Prove it. I want you to speak some Spanish for me. Say something in Spanish.
Hola.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Could be as challenging as like putting yourself into a different country and speaking a different language and having to navigate through that.
Okay, your turn, Ivana.
This is not a thing, by the way. It is not becoming a thing.
Can we just explain why?
Yeah, what is the Ivana thing about?
So we were watching Evan's video one day when we sadly deeply missed him,
Thank you.
and
we did actually miss
we
you.
actually did miss you. That is a true statement. And your name popped up, and
What
for
video
some reason,
were you watching?
I don't
Something
remember.
from your YouTube, right?
It was a YouTube
Yeah.
video. He's trying to get the shameless
Don't worry,
plug.
we have the BTS filmed.
We have the BTS.
Day for a fun video review and looking back.
Why does it say Ivana Tanaka?
that we sent you.
And his name popped up, and it said Ivana Tanaka.
It said Ivana Naka.
Ivana Naka. Oh,
Yeah.
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 See, you know.
I saw the
Ivana
video.
Naka,
I saw
yeah.
what you were pointing at.
So, Ivana.
That's
Full
what-
That's what
disclaimer,
we
I
call
didn't
you.
edit that.
You didn't?
I did not edit that.
Oh, who did? They're fired.
Say it.
Who was it?
My wife.
Did she do that
There
on
was-
purpose?
I hope not. Oh, she got me good. I was like, good one, babe. There was a short time. She edited a couple of my YouTube videos, and she did a great job. And I think just one A, just
Slipped
it's-
in there?
one extra little stroke of the key, just boop, right on there, and my name was now Ivana.
Yeah.
So
Ivana.
awesome. Thanks.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So that is my uncomfortable situation that I had to learn from a girlfriend. No, from this year, I think for me, it's mainly taking on different projects that I might not think I'm ready for. And like, for instance, we did a shoot with Wells Fargo, and that was my biggest shoot to date. And it was at a production level that I hadn't seen yet. And I've done other big shoots, but that one was a 3-day shoot, 2 different locations, huge crew, talent, props, wardrobe, everything, the whole 9. And I had to put it all together, direct and produce, and then oversee all the post side of it. So for me, it was like, I was uncomfortable because here I can go outside and shoot a product do a product photo,
that's, like,
super
easy
easy.
for you.
Run outside, no brainer. But then when it comes to having to run a team like that, it was more of an uncomfortable situation that I had been in before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taking on those challenges that help you grow into that next level. And I had to consciously tell myself, like, I'm going to be uncomfortable. This is going to be stressful. There are going to be times that I probably wish that I could just stop, but to be able to persevere, go through it, and hopefully execute it
Right.
on the level that they expect, that's going to help you progress in your career.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, because you did that open more doors? Or
Open a lot more doors, and we did really well. The team did really well. The client was really happy. The agency I was working with was really happy. So it opened a lot of doors. But on the flip side, if it didn't go well, it would
Close a lot of doors,
close
yeah.
a lot of doors. And I think that's something that you have to be honest with yourself about when you're getting yourself into these uncomfortable positions. To me, it's really good to do that, but you're going to have to hold yourself accountable and make sure you see it through, else something actually negative could come from it.
Right. I guess I would argue this whole year I've been kind of putting myself in that state of like challenging myself to get more uncomfortable. It started like a year ago, even just taking a job in Web3. Like, I didn't know even what
That's
an
a good
NFT was before that. And then since then,
Evan still doesn't know.
we started a podcast. None of us knew how to do that or what to do with that. That's a new challenge. I spoke on a panel on what public
You
speaking.
did a really good job.
Public
You
speaking
did.
makes
Yeah.
me
A little
cry.
round of applause
Yeah.
for Jenny again. Great job.
And I ran a half marathon. Like, that's almost killed me.
Another round of applause for Jenny.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Anything else?
Yeah.
We just want to give claps out.
That's all I'm gonna say.
But just based on being uncomfortable, and for me, I think if the opposite happens when you get too comfortable,
Yeah.
I actually think it could be a detriment to your creative process,
Complacency.
your
Absolutely,
career.
yeah.
Like it. I've always said that comfortability is the place where creatives go to die.
Yeah. Complacency kills.
Mm-hmm.
My own mental state is
Yeah.
constant like growth and trying to challenge myself, and so I probably don't understand the idea of people just being comfortable with where they're at and not wanting to grow and continue to grow.
I do think, and I do agree, because I think objectively coming from my point of view, I'm similar, where it's like, that's how I view myself. And when I see other people not wanting to progress, I automatically have that switch that goes off. I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Why aren't you? But at the same time, I'm getting better to realize that not everybody
is wired that way.
That's what I was
wired that
gonna
way.
say, yeah.
And if they are comfortable and they're happy, and like, that's success in itself, and more power to you.
And some people
so
are
nothing
just
wrong with that.
comfortable with going to their 9 to 5, raising a family, and like that's enough for them, and that's completely fine because they know where their line is, you know. But
We were talking about this just before we started, but I was telling you about this thing I heard the other day of living your life on a scale of 1 to 10. The 1 being struggles and challenges, and the 10 being the highs and the wins, and how a majority of people live at a 5 and a 6 in that complacency range.
Yeah. So not too much stress, not too complacent, like
Yeah.
just kind of like right in the middle.
But like you were saying, because when you hit those highs, you're automatically probably going to hit those 1s too. So
Yeah.
like people avoid the 1, the challenges
but they'll
and the
never
struggles,
see the 10s.
but yeah, they never get to the 10s. And I think that I would rather go with the
Where
1
do you guys feel like you
to hit
live?
the 10s. Yeah.
I'm a roller coaster, baby.
Really?
One day I'll be way high, and the next day I'll be down. I know that's probably not. I shouldn't say it so casually, but like, Evan, you got issues. But I see how I said that super
Evan's
proud.
quick to respond to that one, huh?
I said it so proudly, just like, oh no, my emotions are like this, man. That's normal, right? Yeah.
Where would
That's how
you
everybody
say
lives
you-
their life.
Constantly.
I mean, it's not like a day-to-day roller coaster,
Yeah.
but I think like I will chase those challenges so that you can keep climbing to the 10s,
Yeah.
even if I haven't necessarily hit 10s, but
Yeah.
like in the 9, 8. I would rather do that than live in a complacent state. I just don't.
Yeah. I would say
I feel like you're like a nice 5'6".
fuck no. But
the waves,
it looks
baby.
like that. It looks like that on the outside, but a constant like 9.5. But I've also at the -1s. So like, so ask me where I'm at in like a couple months. I'll let you know. But
Okay. How's Chris doing today?
it's
It's a 9 because I'm
in
here.
It's in the ballpark. We're in the ballpark from
Ballpark of what?
we're from the 0 to 10. I told you, like I said, I had to get out of the negatives for a while. So
Oh, so we're out of the negatives.
we're back in the ballpark.
Okay. So you were in the negatives.
But like again, I'll say that I've had
My answer doesn't seem so bad anymore.
but because of having the mindset of living to that 9 to 5, like 9 to 10 range, in terms of risk and in terms of like just the way that I want to live, I've also had to experience the zeros.
Negatives,
Yeah.
Negatives.
Yeah, I think I was telling Jenny this too. Is like based on that scale, and I obviously go for the 10s. So who wouldn't? The 8, 9s, 10s, you wouldn't. You would always want that. But I think something that started happening to me in my career and just life in general is that the higher the number, that feeling number gets, it almost brings anxiety on because you know that low is coming.
Because you were just like waiting for.
I'm
the
waiting
other
for
shoe
something to
drop.
happen,
Yeah.
right? It's just like sometimes in your life things are going what you think are really good, and all of a sudden just life kind of kicks you in the ass, and it's just like, nope.
I'm uncomfortable right now. That's why. Because literally, I will say this time last year was at like a 15.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. I would call him, and he
Oh.
would just be like, Evan, what's up, man? I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm surfing in Costa Rica. I made friends with like local people. I'm doing this and doing crypto. Like, yeah, you were on cloud 9,
Yeah.
man. Cloud 15, excuse me.
Yeah, now it's like -5. So you had to experience. You had to
You
experience
had the
that.
high. Now
You had the
the
high, yeah.
low.
So now you got to even it out.
Don't worry. How's it coming? How's it coming?
Exactly. That is the cool thing about life is that it's always like in a cycle, right?
Yeah.
Like it's never too high, it's never too low. It's always somewhere in the middle.
Well, I think it's really important for people to know, like, because I guarantee you, I know we laugh about it, we're joking about it, but there are quite a few people that are probably living under a 5, right? You know, and they may just be in a low spot. Things aren't going their way, and I think it's really important to remember that a lot of other people have been there,
Yeah.
and you're able to, based on your mindset,
Yeah.
if it has to do with work, it doesn't always. I mention work a lot, but it doesn't always have to do with that. But if it does have to do with work, You know, if you're working to get out of it, you're thinking about your next move, you're looking for new opportunity. If it has to do with something with life, you're able to make those adjustments in there. And it's possible. So don't get too bogged down by feeling that way, like you're stuck and you're not getting out.
And I will say, it's like you're never alone. Like
Yeah.
the thing is, it might seem like the worst thing in the world. I mean, there's so many, like crypto, for example, Terra, FTX, like so many people lost so many millions of dollars. It might seem like, I don't know how many suicides there were from it, but it might seem like the worst thing in the world, but in reality, there are other people that are going through that.
Yeah.
And I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Like, it's always important to go seek out an expert that can help you through those phases.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, because we just had Justin on, and like even having somebody there for the highs as well to talk it out is important.
Well,
I think therapy was stigmatized of like, you have a problem, but like you can also go to therapy and just like talk about what the fuck is like going unbelievable in your life.
The wins.
Yeah, all the wins. Like, we talk about the wins just as much as we talk about the losses.
I think at the baseline, because some people don't have immediate access to an expert, right? Because even Justin was saying that it took him like 10 therapists to like find his person. It hasn't worked for me. But I think as long as you don't feel like you need to bottle it up, be able to talk about it, I think that's step one. Yeah. Right? Step one, it's okay. And like you said, you're not alone. Other people have gone through things. Other people have their own shit that they're dealing with. And I don't like this saying, but sometimes it is comforting. It is that misery loves company. Yeah. And it is true, because it helps to kind of talk and like, fuck, this is what's going on in my life. This is what's going on in my life. Yeah, okay, well, you and I can see eye to eye. At least you have somebody to level with you a little bit, right? Yeah.
I have kind of a good example of, well, like, you guys know my sister. She...
Who's your sister? Just kidding, Jill. You're awesome. Shout out, Jill. #1 fan.
Just interviewed for an ER position, and she's always wanted to work in the ER, but she's been like too afraid of it because it's really intense and it's really hard. And so she like interviewed, but she's like, I might not take the job even if I get it, because she's afraid of it. So then I told her this example of the ones and the tens, and she actually used that in her interview.
So basically you got her the job?
Yeah, well, she hasn't found out yet, but
sorry.
I think she would take the job now, because knowing she's afraid of it, that's what's holding her back. So.
I've had this conversation with other people, and I've always kind of looked at my, again, going back to career, is I see it in 2-year stints. And it's like every 2 years or a shorter amount of time, I try and find something that makes me a little uncomfortable, because it'll propel me to do something a little bit different.
Well, like, let's just look at the timeline, not to cut you off, but like, what,
no,
2000?
You know you meant to.
You definitely like
No, I want to talk about Evan's timeline, because
okay. Let's hear your timeline.
Like, you're moonlighting in 2018,
and
then got laid off in 2020.
Thanks for reminding me.
And
do you want to bring up the company that failed too?
The company that failed in 2016, right?
Thank
Was
you.
that?
Yep.
Every 2 years you
every 2 years now.
Every 2 years you fail.
Shit, my time is almost up.
So now let's just play this. Let's play this out.
The new year 2023.
We are in 2020. Done really well.
Yeah. Okay, no, I'm hearing you.
We see where we're at right here. Just we want to have a diary of Evan's timeline.
Failures. But it is true what you're saying. It's like those. I think you laid out well.
Not saying you failed, but every 2 years you
But
read,
have,
right?
If it put me in an uncomfortable position that I had to figure out something. What was the next step? Yeah. So it's like whether it was Valen, which didn't work out the way I wanted to, I had to go find a job, and that job led me to the next job, and led me to my first like real big client for video. And so then I was able to go to the next thing, and then I got laid off.
If you focus on the failure part of that, you'll see failure, but they're wins.
Those are wins.
Yeah.
Those
but
are
at the same time, I would look for other things that make me uncomfortable, even from as small as buying a new camera. Like that would be something like if I started getting a little complacent and I was like, oh, I'm doing well, I can just keep doing the same thing, I'd go and buy a new camera or a new lens.
Challenge yourself.
It would challenge myself. It would be like, well, this camera is $3,000. That's a lot of money. how am I going to make up that money?
Yeah.
I'm going to go look for a new client. I'm going to find a way to pay this off.
That's a cool way to look
And
at
so
it.
that's another motivating factor for me.
Yeah.
You know, looking for that. And
I always wondered why you just kept getting so much equipment over and over and over.
And you know what? That
I'm
was
like,
a big
man.
piece of it. That was a
Really?
big piece of it, that I'd like to put myself in a uncomfortable position, and it was learning
Yeah.
and building the what's it called, the arsenal,
The repertoire.
the arsenal of lenses and gear and
Yeah.
thing I was able to use. But like for Thread Beast, I don't know if you remember this, but I know I've had conversations with you, and I would tell you like, oh, on this shoot, I got this.
Yeah, and
for
I
this
wouldn't know
one.
what that meant.
I got this filter, I got this lens, I got this gimbal, I got this, because
James is like,
any money I was
Yeah.
bringing in, I would just pour it right back into the video stuff. So it never felt like I was moving forward in my career, but I was challenging myself to get better every single time.
And that actually did propel you
Yeah.
forward, right?
Yeah.
and for you, I would say still, it's about 2 years, right? Like
Yeah, I mean,
every 2 years or so.
yeah, I guess I've been with Jeremy and Aaron for 2 years, but in the Web3 for 1. But before that, I had my own company. That was a fail, but propelled me into what was next. So not necessarily a fail, but
Yeah.
it just depends on what angle you look at it. Like your fails are also wins because
Those are-
it takes you the next
Well,
thing.
it depends on what you do with the failure.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the big distinction.
Ooh, yeah.
If you fail and you get knocked down and you don't get back up again, not trying to quote Chumbawamba, I get knocked down, I get up again.
I hope somebody gets that reference.
John's gonna play the song for sure. Chumbawamba. If you don't get back up, if you don't decide to do something from the
Yeah.
then it is a failure.
Yeah.
Then that's all it is. But if you're gonna make something out of it, then that can become a win or at least a learning experience.
Yeah. What about you, Chris? What was your last failure?
My last
What's your
failure-
learning
my
experience?
failure goes in Bitcoin cycles. So
I knew that was gonna come up.
I just relate it to crypto cycles.
What do you? I mean, okay, so we're in a bear market. I know we don't need to talk about that any more than it is. But for you, from that experience of what happened, have you learned from it?
I think
Have
it's
you
a
decided-
blessing because it's allowed me to create a more firm foundation
outside of that.
it was almost like a crutch, so to speak. Like
Exactly.
it's great to have freedom. It's great to be able to move around and like
But were you
go as you
relying
please.
on that
But I was also relying on that freedom where it's like when that slaps you in the face, it's like everyone has a plan until you get hit in the face. And
Yeah.
then what?
Yeah.
You have to figure out and build the foundation all over
So
again.
you're starting
And so it's like-
rebuilding basically.
Yeah,
right?
now it's like rebuilding phase, like back in
But
the
didn't
foundation.
you say in the past that like when your back's against the wall, that's when you come
Our
up with
most creative,
yeah.
yeah. It takes time. Like probably gonna have to lose a few more things and get a couple more wins, but yeah, that's gonna happen. And like in the long run, it'll be more rewarding and fulfilling because it's like you'll look back 5, 10 years,
Yeah.
whatever, and be like, because of this time, that forced you to go grow in a different direction.
Yep.
And because of that, like you're this type of person. You're a different person now because of it. And like,
Was that you that said in a previous episode that every couple of years you're supposed to take a risk?
It was a book, the bio book of Ron Howard. When Ron Howard was a child actor, I think Henry Fonda went to him and told him every 18 months you need to risk everything for your career.
and
And he was talking
look,
about, he
what
was
is-
pertaining to actor.
What does that look like? Like let's see, what's an example?
So for me, it's what I'm going through right now. You know, a big thing that's been on my plate is I really want to get into a studio. Like I really want to get out of the garage. I want, like, my garage is conformed to a studio, but I want my own place. Will that automatically bring me more clients? Will that automatically make my work better? No, absolutely not. It's what you do with it, but that is the position I want to put myself in. So my back is against the wall, and now I own this property. Now I have my own studio. What are you going to do with it? Now
Kind of
it's
like
your
your
time.
camera, but in a much bigger
Much bigger
level.
way, exactly.
Where's
So
the
that's that
studio
18
gonna
months.
be? And will
Wherever.
there be a podcast room?
There may or may not be a podcast room. I mean, that's the goal. Is that it's a place that we can all come together, not only decent humans but other creators, and we can create there, and I can bring clients there, and it becomes more of an established business. But that's my example. Like that, every 18 months, really challenging yourself. So it can come in the forms of small or big. Like I said, small camera, big getting an actual spot. And I think that it's really important for anybody that's listening or any viewers is that what is it that you're doing in your life right now that you feel complacent in?
Yeah.
And could you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, not risking it all? I don't need to get that dramatic and say like you need to just
Don't do what I would do.
no, like don't go and quit your job and
No,
say like
of
I'm going all into this because I'm super passionate about it. I've always been a big
You
proponent.
can do
You-
that
you
if
can,
you
yeah.
want, but
But I mean,
you
you
can
know
also-
my point of view
yeah.
of it.
I
I take a more conservative approach.
I'm on the opposite end, but yeah.
Yeah. So look out, turn.
Yeah, I know.
God, that's so mean. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's what
Forgive
happened.
me.
But I will say, like, the people that take the biggest risks are also over time going to get comfortable with those risks, and to
Yeah.
them, it doesn't feel as big
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
true.
normal.
Your risks are going to get bigger.
So your risks are going to grow, and you're going to develop the appetite for it, and also be comfortable with it. Like, it's just like you're just expanding.
I mean, it's like stock trading. It's like trading crypto. It's like anything. The bigger the risk, bigger the reward. But at the same time, do it with a plan. I think that's the biggest thing is do it with a plan. Don't just go gung ho and because like, oh, I need to risk it to do that.
No.
Have a plan put together.
Yeah. Where do you feel like, in terms of career wise, you want to
So
grow?
this year, previously to the Web3 space, I worked in the influencer creator space on the brand side for, 6+ years. So I understand content, I understand influencer marketing, I understand all that. And so I guess in a way of me being complacent was not using all those tools and also building like maybe a side business for myself, because now I'm in Web3, I'm not using any of that. So I can use all those skills that I have and create something else for myself, which is what I've like slowly started thinking about.
Side note, there's a lot of job opportunities in the crypto space, like for content creators, a ton of them. I've been looking lately. So I'm just, you wouldn't understand. Like, I didn't even realize how many people in the Web3 space need social, like managers, need any
They
sort of
don't
content,
understand
because they
it,
don't
yeah.
understand the content space.
If you ever look at a crypto like NFT Instagram, it's the worst
Yeah.
thing you've ever looked at.
What? Why? I don't look at crypto NFT Instagrams.
It's just mostly posting
There's
pictures
no,
of
yeah,
the
there's
NFT,
no like community. There's no relatability.
I see what you're saying.
they don't
It's
know
just
how to
kind
use the
of-
page to help market the brand
Got
Yeah.
it.
that way.
There's no like real storytelling
Yeah.
to it.
So like a CGI'd, cool, digitally coined.
It's like a
thing.
product, but no story.
So any other examples that
I feel like
come to mind when
even
because
starting the podcast, honestly.
I mean that's a good point.
That's
too.
something that I feel like, we both kind of dove in on and really trying to understand the ins and the outs of it, because like we were talking earlier, and it's not about like just understanding YouTube or just understanding like, oh, I want to be a content creator. Like, you have to understand the back end. You have to understand the marketing. You have to understand the storytelling.
You have to
Like,
understand your guest, like getting the story out of your guests and like relationships and how to like manage all that. Also, there's like tons like all that involved that you don't think about when we were like, let's start a podcast.
Yeah.
It sounds easy, right? Like start talking to a mic and it'll just come.
But like, you have to, like we talk about the 10,000 hour rule, but you have to master the game within the game, so to speak. So it's like, yeah, in the bigger picture, it's like this content game, but like really mastering the ins and outs of what makes the whole thing work is like what brings it together.
Well, I think also being uncomfortable comes in the form of not just yourself internally doing something, but it also, like the podcast, I would say it's kind of uncomfortable just being in front of cameras and putting yourself out there.
I don't know.
And being
This guy was
vulnerable.
pretty natural.
You're pretty
After I saw these
unnatural.
YouTube videos, I was like, oh, this is where Evan gets all of his practice from. Literally just sits there and does the same thing.
Maybe
it's
it's
good.
when you're
It
like
was
alone
good.
in your room.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Oh, I just have a mirror and I'm just
Yeah.
like, hey, welcome back, everybody.
But it is, I mean, I've talked about this before, like with the podcast, I don't like speaking in front of people, and even though there's no like audience here, but like learning how to get my thoughts, and there's Johnny back there.
Johnny,
Get my
you're
thoughts
not an
out.
audience. You're family.
Aw, that was special.
It's Christmas. Do you think in today's day and age the way people are getting uncomfortable, because we talk about the differences between now and in the past 20 years, 30 years. Do you think the level of acceptable uncomfortability has changed? Or do you think that it's people are experiencing that on a bigger scale? Because, all right, going back a little bit, we talked about the previous mindset of some people are okay with a 9-to-5 job, have the family, have the house, have the dog, that's it. And I feel like that is a very American dream mindset. You know, you work the same place for 30, 40 years, you have your retirement fund, and then you retire. I feel like that's not the case anymore. So in my mind, it's like, has that uncomfortability been something that has changed over time? Like,
but I guess you can take it like on a deeper level. Just because they have a 9-to-5 job and they have the kids and the wife and or the family and whatever, like they could be experiencing those 1s and 10s within their career or within their family.
Yeah, I don't want to take away from that at
Yeah.
all. Like, not say a 9-to-5 job is easy at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm thinking of like maybe the risk factor of like, is it more acceptable?
Well, they're more reliable on their job to challenge them versus them actually.
Yeah, so maybe that's more it. Like, because back then it is like if you're working for your 9-to-5 job, like you have to challenge yourself within the job. Whereas nowadays you're trying to look for those, especially in LA, you're looking for those opportunities. Either, you know, it's kind of up to you, either looking outside of where you currently are or what you're doing to be able to kind of grow, especially as like a freelancer.
Yeah.
You know, do you think it's changed at all?
I think with social media that like has also pushed people to like, you see what everyone else is doing. So because we can see and compare, we're like challenging ourselves to rise above and beyond what we're watching. Is that kind of like within the realm that you're talking about?
Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No.
I'm just asking a question.
Sick.
I'm just saying if that resonates with you guys, if we do think that level of acceptable uncomfortability has changed.
My
where
mom
people
just
are taking
texted
risks.
me that she is now in her 31 years at one job. She's been, that's like my entire like life.
Yeah, and see, I guess that's my point, is that like my mom, same thing. She works in physical therapy for her entire life, and that was her job. She took risks in there. But I think like talking about some of the entrepreneurs we've had on here, like they've made the huge leap. They kind of risk everything. They go after what they're passionate about. And I feel like it's more acceptable now to take those risks, to be uncomfortable.
I think it's more talked
before.
about now. Like your 20s should be for tasting. Your 20s should be to take as many risks as possible and screw up. Even your 30s, like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see.
Look at me.
I don't see many people. I mean, in our day and age, that would stay at a job for 10 years. I mean.
Yeah. Well, especially not
longer.
in LA. Definitely not in LA.
It's
but
like musical chairs with jobs around here.
Tech. Yeah.
But I also think I would hope that we're all able to recognize when we're unhappy with our situation and we take steps to change that. And I mean, I think in the older generation, you just had to get a job and you get your benefits, and that's where you were safe.
I think, and opportunities are also growing.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's more opportunities now. Like back in the old days, there wasn't the internet, right? Like they didn't have, the internet, and the world wasn't as connected as it is today.
The world is bigger now because of all
the
the technology.
But the opportunities are much greater on top of that. So.
Can you think of a time like where you purposely made yourself uncomfortable? Because we talked a little bit about failures and things like that. Yeah. But is there any time that you purposely put yourself in a more uncomfortable situation to help grow wherever you were in life?
We could talk about when I moved to San Francisco.
Yeah.
I moved there with no job and $100 in my pocket, the $100 bill that my grandma gave me when I left. Right. I had no money when I got there, so then I had lined up 1 month to my the apartment that I got, and as soon as I got there, I just walked up and down streets and applied to every bar or restaurant store I could find, and then.
And what drove you to go out to San Francisco?
The career in fashion. So I went to fashion school in San Francisco.
Got it. And that was basically your big risk.
Yeah, that was I guess, that's my biggest risk in terms of like I had no real plan. I'd gotten into school, but it hadn't started yet.
Were there a bunch of people just around you saying like, can't do it, don't do that, it's a bad idea?
Kind of, I mean, the opposite, because I got my degree in Grand Forks, North Dakota in general studies. But my friends at the time had like an intervention and were like, you shouldn't be doing this, you should go into fashion. Like,
Had an intervention, like a career intervention.
well, like because I didn't get into the program, I did athletic training.
That's
I
right.
didn't get into the
yeah, we
program,
did. Okay.
and then they had like a little intervention, and like you should be going into fashion. So then,
So they believed in you.
yeah,
They saw
I had
you.
never even considered it before, like because I knew that moving to California was like way out of my league. I just didn't even think about it. And so then after that is when I started thinking about it, and I had to like pitch it to my parents, and then they were super supportive.
That's
And
good.
then I made the move. And I think at the time I hadn't even actually graduated UND. I had one semester left, but I had to finish that semester in a week in order to start at FITM. So I did 12 credits worth of homework in 1 week. I locked myself in my apartment in San Francisco and did 12 credits worth of homework.
Oh
and
my
then,
God.
And then started FITM the next week.
Forget that noise. But I mean,
That forced you.
again,
Yeah.
that goes back to the very first thing I was saying is like, when you put yourself in those uncomfortable situations,
can-
hold yourself accountable.
Yeah, you can make things happen if you...
Yeah, because you could have easily been like, that's too much.
Yeah.
I can't do that. And then FITM wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
You moving to LA probably wouldn't have happened. And you may have gone back to North Dakota.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of work, and I had help along the way. And like even just the 12 credits, I had to talk to all my professors, and they had to allow me to turn in all my homework within a week, because then they had to go and grade it all to get me
You
to
didn't give them
graduate.
an ultimatum.
I was like, I'm starting this school in a week.
Yeah.
I need to finish.
Yeah.
Like, I need this degree, and they're like, they had to work with me on it. So
That's what I will say in every stage. Like, even though there are jumps and leaps that we all want to take, it's like you're not in it alone. Like, there's always people, resources, help that you can rely on along the way. Like, I feel like so many people think like, oh, like I'm going to take this job or do this or that. But it's like, you're not doing this alone. Like, there's always somebody that you could talk to. There's always somebody that can like bounce ideas off
Yeah.
of or whatever. And yeah,
But it feels like it.
it feels like you're alone
Feels
for
like you're
sure.
alone.
It absolutely.
I think
feels
it
like you're
also
alone.
goes because I guarantee you, it sounds like you had a pretty strong group of friends around you.
Mhm.
If they're
Yeah.
giving you a career intervention, like that's awesome. I never had that. But my friend's like, what are we doing this weekend? That's all that
Yeah.
matters. But it feels that way, but it also helps to find those people with that like-minded mindset, right?
Yeah.
And it may even feel worse at times when you don't have those people around. Because like I know when I started my photo and video journey, I didn't have anybody around me that did that. So to me, that was just all like, I remember being in grad school and doing the photos and videos, and I would get made fun of all the time because I'm in grad school.
Sucks, yeah.
You know, you're supposed to be in a business mindset. You're supposed to be doing finance and analytics and strategy and all the much more, I don't want to say glamorous because it's not glamorous. It's more of a respectable line of work, right? And so here I am messing around with the camera on the weekends, trying to build a brand. I'm the model for it because I couldn't afford a model, and I'm just getting poked fun at the entire time. I remember those group chats going on, and they would like send messages of like new posts that I'd like have a shirt on, and I'd like be standing against a white backdrop, and they're like
and
that.
they would make fun, like,
And they would make fun of it, and they would send it around, and it's all in like good fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, after a while, it can weigh you down.
Yeah, for
and be
sure.
like, all right, enough. Like,
do you ever
I'm
think
really
now,
trying.
like, look at me now, assholes?
No, because I didn't take it that seriously, but it was just kind of like, I wonder how my mindset would have
Would've
been
been
if I had the support.
Yeah.
And there was a few there that absolutely supported me.
Yeah.
But if I had that around me, it would help push me a lot farther. And so I think for anybody out there that is in that position, that they want to get uncomfortable, but they don't have the right people around, now's the time to start looking.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's other people that have gone through the same similar thing, who are going through the similar things, that you guys can push each other and
Yeah.
move forward all at once.
Or what I find myself doing as well, if I don't have the answer, it's like Google is your best friend, or like listening to podcasts. Like you don't necessarily have to have the friends, but you can also always seek that out on podcasts, or like finding, you don't need like an actual mentor in front of you physically. You can listen to those people on podcasts, seek out that information from people that are doing the same things that you want to do or you aspire to do. And I feel like that will also help like your step along the way.
Yeah. I mean, podcasts have been like my best friend lately. I've listened to we just send them back and forth too. Sorry, you're
Evan.
too busy.
Another group text that I'm not involved in, so it's still happening.
You would have listened to them.
I would totally listen to
Would
them.
you?
Yeah,
Oh.
maybe.
But I will say I've been fortunate enough to have like a really good foundation of friends for like the past 20 plus years that kind of have been there along every step of the way. But I know that if I didn't have that,
You might not be where you are.
the mentality probably wouldn't be the same. But what I would go is seeking out that information from other podcasts or.
Since we're going down this road, I also think it's so important, like who you surround yourself with, because if you surround yourself with people who are like-minded and in that growth mindset, you're going to continue to push yourself and grow. But if you surround yourself with people who are complacent or like just fine with, riding that middle line, then you're probably going to lean into that also. So if you want to grow, go find people who are also, starting businesses or doing things like that too.
And that goes hand in hand with like, if you are in a rut, if you are like down in the dumps, whatever, like put yourself in positions or around people or in situations where there's positive talk, like positive thinking, positive.
And negativity spreads.
Yes, exactly.
So much.
It's so easy to get sucked into it.
So be around like that positivity because it'll change the chemical wiring in your brain. It'll just uplift you. And
it's very true. I mean, not really on the wired connectivity with you, but I was going to reference you in a positive light for once. It was like how you were saying, like surrounding yourself and finding those people, and I agree. And I think it goes back to like the MBA that I was working at or getting my MBA at. All those people have in their mind the long-term career in the corporate world, and so that was my mindset. It wasn't until I met someone like you, actually you,
not someone like you.
It was actually you. It wasn't like you. It was you. That you and I connected, and we were able to have more meaningful conversations and about career, but outside of what I was wired to think, the 9-to-5 corporate. And you kept on pushing me and telling me like, oh no, Evan, you can do this. You can freelance. You could be that and create your own stuff. But my mind didn't think that way. So I think it actually goes to a testament to you. And then anybody out there that's trying to find those new circles, you'll be surprised these ideas that are right in front of you that you're blind to until someone kind of enlightens you and says, no, you can do this. This is a possibility. And sometimes that's all it takes is that little push.
Or like just needing someone else to believe in you until you believe in yourself.
Yeah, that also helps.
Yeah, that too.
I believed in you.
That's really special.
I'm so thankful for you.
See, you did have a friend that career intervention.
Actually, yeah, I had a career. Yeah, that's right, I did. It was just of one. I was like, bye.
It's funny because it's hard to get this guy on the phone.
I know,
So
it's impossible.
he's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And then one day he's like ready to listen. And he's
Well,
like, all right.
I remember when I was at my last full-time job, I'd be editing on the computer and I'd have him in my like headphones and I'd be editing there and he'd just like, Evan, you just quit. You don't even like working. Yeah, like all that stuff. And I'm just like, no, I'm still trying to work. Like, leave me alone.
As you're saying,
Like,
just
stop.
quit.
Yeah, just stop. Just don't do that. Yeah.
But the reason behind that, because I've had multiple friends, even Blake now, like Blake was at med sales job, did really well, made whatever money. But it's like, if it's not in alignment with what makes you most happy, if it's not in alignment with what makes you most fulfilled, and I feel like we're blessed to have really cool people as guests on that we've seen are so fucking passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
Like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like just certain things like that. You see the passion. And I think that in the long run, that is much more sustainable. Like, don't get me wrong. You got to do what you got to do in the meantime in order to like make ends meet and bridge that gap.
Yeah.
But once you find that, run with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what we talked with Justin. It's chasing the paycheck. You're never going to be fulfilled because your next goal is the bigger paycheck. So you can't expect yourself to be fulfilled completely if that's your final goal.
Like a temporary fulfillment, though.
Yeah.
Like you have money, that's nice, but then what's next? And you're always going to have that.
Whereas I think if you're chasing the passion, then I think that's a much different
Yeah.
feeling of fulfillment, because you can look back and be like, wow, I can track my record of, the brands I've worked with and where I am now from working like this, and now I have a team, or whatever the case may be. But I think it's so true. It's much easier to look back and be very proud of what you've been able to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're chasing passion rather than a paycheck too, like it opens up more room for creativity, and you can keep building on that, where like, I mean, you might reach your ceiling with a paycheck, and then you're like, now what?
Yeah,
The only other move would be to start a new
That's
career.
a really good point. I remember being like athletic training. I'm sure you can relate to this. I got told like, you're not going to make very much money. And if that's your goal, like to make money, like I would never be happy doing that. Not that that was my goal, but it's just like, there is that ceiling, and it's a very, very low ceiling. So it's just, and so chase your passions, not the paycheck.
Ooh, there you go. There's your soundbite.
That's good.
On that note, thank you guys for joining me on the
Thanks for joining us, actually.
Thanks for having me back on the Decent Human podcast. No, thank you so much for joining us today on the Decent Human podcast. Please
Like, subscribe.
comment,
Share.
all of the above. Share, just let us know what you want to hear, what you want to see. If you're more interested in hearing about Jenny, if you're more interested about Chris, definitely not me. Let's hear what you have to say. Let's hear it. Let's see what you have to say. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.